How's it going, everybody? It's January, which means a new year and more rezero! Rezero time, let's go! In honor of such a happy occasion, I plan to make a good amount of ReZero videos in the next coming weeks. The story in ReZero is honestly phenomenal, with very intricate details, very good meaningful character dialogue, foreshadowing literally everywhere, and very detailed world building. White Fox has done an amazing job on adapting ReZero almost perfectly. Because of this, we've gotten some of the most breathtaking and groundbreaking episodes in all of anime. 3 episodes vividly come to my mind when I think of ReZero at its best, and those are episode 15, episode 18, and episode 24. Today I'll be starting a mini-series where I go and look at these amazing episodes and explain why I think they're some of the best animated episodes of all time. For this video specifically, we will be looking at episode 15, known as The Outside of Madness. Episode 15 can be summed up in one word: hopelessness. Until this point, ReZero had been a very enjoyable watch for me. It had been a fun show with a neat gimmick of time travel because I legit love any kind of time travel in media for some reason, and the world we got to know so far was very interesting. Then we got the tiny royal selection arc, which was extremely painful to watch because of the stupid decisions Subaru makes, and that all led up to episode 15. This episode is what truly opened my eyes to what this series could be. From the very moment this episode starts, the tone feels incredibly different than any of the other ones. Most of the episodes up to this point started out with some lightheartedness or some jokes or some character revelations, but not this one. Episode 15 starts out with a somber piano as Subaru looks at Rem's corpse among a ton of dead witch cult members, with no words at all, just tears streaming from his face. He gets up and he walks to a nearby hut where he finds all of the kids from the village dead. This is when Subaru finally realizes what the hell has happened, and he finds himself vomiting everywhere. He immediately starts to deflect that this isn't what he wanted, which is just a testament to his sense of pride that has been brewing in him the last few episodes. Subaru saved the mansion, he saved Emilia, he did a lot of things, and because of that he started to develop an ego. So naturally, he's going to do what he can to try to defend that ego, and that's why he's saying this is not his fault. He then heads for the mansion where the title plays on the screen, skipping the opening. This is an important choice in direction because not playing the opening gives the audience no break to prepare themselves for what's up next. It keeps us right there in the vein of terror with Subaru. The mansion seems to be completely empty, and Subaru finds himself running into Ram and Petra's bodies. Once again, more corpses of those that he holds dear. He reaches out to Petra to find out her eyes have been gouged out, which just further adds to the monstrosity of what happened here. They murdered the entire village, they killed Rem. This was when it went too far in my opinion. You can't just kill Rem. And then they killed a bunch of kids, they killed Rem, and then they gouged out the eyeballs of a child. Whoever is behind this is truly mad. Subaru again starts to deflect, saying that this wasn't his fault, which again is just him denying his pride. Him saying it wasn't his fault is also likely due to what happened at the royal selection, since he ended up really hurting Emilia and he got ditched there. There is no doubt in my mind that Subaru is likely holding himself responsible for what has happened here, even if it was outside of his control, since he probably believes he could have done something to stop this. He then finds Emilia's hair clip and finds his way into a corridor where he meets his demise by freezing to death. A voice that's unknown to the viewers says, "You're too late," once again emphasizing on Subaru's guilt. Subaru then respawns, which is directly in front of Mr. Appistan. This is a new respawn point, and it's worth noting because it's the first time that he does this since the beginning of the show. You know, and it spawns in front of Mr. Apis' place, I mean. He's clearly still in shock from what the hell just happened, and he falls to his knees upon seeing that Rem is alive still. Rem, being the best girl she is, comes over to make sure he's alright, and Subaru hugs her. God, I really wish that were me. However, Subaru's mind seems to have completely snapped, as he just sits there and he cries to himself. Rem takes him back to Crucia's place, where we get an iconic Subaru picture, and Felix notes that there is nothing that they can do about mental issues. Rem knows something is up with Subaru though, since his witch's miasma is very strong, which we the audience know that it is stronger than normal because he just recently respawned. This, however, is where Rem's character really starts to shine. I'll admit, I'm an absolute sucker for Rem. I love her to death, but it's hard to deny between this episode and episode 18, and honestly just all of arc 3 of ReZero, how amazing her character gets. Subaru remains in an almost vegetative state for a good portion of this episode, and Rem just takes over in a sequence that is nothing but bittersweet, which is heavily reflective by the score that plays. The sequence with Rem is bittersweet because Subaru is out of it and she's returning to the mansion, which we the audience know will likely result in her death and Subaru resetting again. She's going straight into a disaster that she doesn't even know is waiting for her. It seriously is just remarkable how much Rem shines in this episode though, and how undying her love is for Subaru. She notes that even if Subaru fought with Emilia and she enjoyed having him to herself at Crucia's place, Rem will always do what is right for Subaru, and she never once doesn't believe he won't be okay, saying he's always fanatical like a demon, which is a very touching quote because Subaru said this to her and it kind of changed her life and made her feel more alive. This proves how much he means to her still. But it has been a little too quiet, and Rem has finally entered entered the Rosewall domain. Rem and Subaru are immediately ambushed by the witch's cult, having the ground dragon killed and their cart tipped. This is a scene that is a little heartbreaking, as Rem's hatred for the witch's cult comes to the forefront. We the audience know that Rem's village was destroyed and her sister's demon horn was taken by the witch's cult, and Rosewall ended up saving them. That is the only reason they are alive right now. She doesn't want to stand by and let them take even more from her, but it doesn't matter since Subaru gets scooped up by one of them anyways and is taken away. We don't know what happens to Rem until later, but we get introduced to one of the most iconic ReZero characters right after this.
私は魔女教滞在司教タイダ担当ベテルギウス・ロマネ・コンティです
Betelgeuse to me is one of the most interesting ReZero characters, as he is so insanely comical. The way he acts is just ridiculous. From biting his own fingers constantly, to his green Murdoch-like skin, to his voice actor's stellar performance, everything about him just screams a Saturday morning cartoon villain. However, he's the one behind such atrocious murders and the attack on the mansion, as well as a high-ranking member of the Witches Cult, which is a very dangerous organization. I find him very effective as a villain because of how over-the-top he is, just proving how batshit he is, and it's a good juxtaposition for Subaru's mental breaking. It's also worth noting that despite being the Archbishop a sloth, he seems to be the exact opposite of sloth. He is high energy, he's very expressive, and he seems to be putting in a lot of work for seemingly no reason. This could possibly set up the other archbishops for being opposites of their sins, who knows. What is really interesting though is how upon knowing Subaru only for a brief amount of time, Betelgeuse is able to point out nearly all of his flaws as a character. It starts when they first meet, as he asks him if he is Pride. We're probably referring to him being the Archbishop of Pride. This is likely due to his actions in the royal selection, or how he usually has the I'll do it myself in my way attitude. Subaru oozes a lot of Pride character traits. This is the episode that got a lot of the audience speculating Subaru's possible connections to the Witches Cult, since him being Pride makes a lot of sense based off of his character already, and even more so when you look at his power, which is returned by death. We learn that Betelgeuse's power is Unseen Hand, which is a great power for the Archbishop of the Sloth, as they don't have to move or put any effort into anything. They just have a giant shadow hand do all the work for them. Returned by death is an ability to die and come back in the past, but it allows the user, in this case Subaru, to appear to fix any problem. He could even make himself look a lot better than others, which is perfect for Pride. On top of that, Subaru's name in Japanese is the name for Pleiades star cluster, which is nicknamed the Seven Sisters. It's very possible that the Seven Sisters correlate to the Seven Witches of Sin, and what's even more interesting is that Betelgeuse's name is also based on a star that isn't very far from Pleiades. This all just layers on top of Subaru somehow being connected to the Witches Cult, on top of his already strong connections with Satella and with Witch Miasma. Anyways, Betelgeuse also calls out Subaru for wasting away in stagnation rather than repaying the goodwill shown to him, which refers to Rem, Crush, Emilia, Felix, and such, and how he once again is too prideful to ask for help about saving the mansion. Instead, he seems to be faking madness to not have to do anything for the mansion. He's being idle and not acting, which is going to result in him getting what the community has dubbed the bad ending. But anyways, Best Girl has reappeared to get back her man. Let's go, Rem. I love you so much. She kicks a bunch of witch cult ass, and Betelgeuse asks her why she adheres so much to Subaru, to which she immediately retorts that he knows nothing about Subaru. Once again, Rem proves her undying belief and trust in Subaru. This is the first time all episode that things actually seem a little bit hopeful, as Rem smiles at Subaru, but then Betelgeuse utters his famous phrase. This moment left me in absolute shock. My face almost exactly like Subaru's in this scene. The way the audio cuts out and all we hear is just silence as Rem hangs in the air like a puppet, Betelgeuse tells Subaru to look and tells him that her death was his fault. This is a direct callback to the beginning of this episode, where Subaru said the attack on the mansion was not his fault. I don't think I can ever explain the horror and pain I felt inside watching Betelgeuse twist Rem's limbs. Rem is probably one of my favorite characters in any media ever, and just watching this happen to her was just painful. Subaru finally rises up, shows that he was sane the entire time as he screams Betelgeuse's name. This is when one of the most powerful pieces of music I have ever heard starts to come in, which is Requiem of Silence. This piece is perfect for this episode, as this song also feels like it embodies hopelessness. You can hear Subaru's pain and suffering, and how he feels so isolated and alone in this piece. It playing while Betelgeuse is leaving, Rem's body on the ground, and Subaru screaming. It's just powerful. What is even more painful is how Rem ends up being alive, and she helplessly drags her way across the ground. She reaches Subaru, and in her dying breaths, she frees him and tells him that she loves him. Even to Rem's last dying moments, she never lost any amount of faith in Subaru at all. After gathering his thoughts, he carries Rem's corpse and plans to head to the mansion. To me, this is the start of one of the most memorable sequences in anime. Requiem of Silence playing in the background while Subaru carries Rem's body into what he knows will be his death. It's impactful. He's going in face first, finally coming to terms with how much he is fucked up. He arrives at the village that is snowing this time, once again seeing that everybody is dead. This is when us, the audience, know that things won't have changed at all. Subaru comes to the mansion and sees Ram dead, knowing that he is again too late. He begins to curse Betelgeuse as he falls to his knees, which a monster pops out of the mansion as he does. This monster ends up being revealed later to be Puck, but still, it's a monster nonetheless. It tells him to sleep along with his daughter as the music hits its peak, and Subaru's head comes clean off as the credits start to roll. This was when, on my first watch of ReZero, I just sat there, awestruck at my computer. I had no words. I had no thoughts. Nothing was going on in my head. I just stared at my screen while I was crying and watching the snow get thicker and thicker. This ending of this episode on its own was a masterpiece, with brilliant direction, just letting the audience bask in complete hopelessness from the beginning to the end. The ending lets the viewers just think that Subaru might not be able to fix things this time around, and you also get to take in and just really think about how fucked up the witch's cult is. The outside of madness is the pinnacle of feeling hopelessness in a medium, and was the moment I became fully invested in the world of ReZero. I wanted nothing more than to watch Subaru and Rem succeed in saving the mansion, and I thought that this would go down as one of the best episodes in the series, but I was proven wrong when a measly 3 episodes later, another truly amazing episode came out. I'll see you guys next time when we talk about episode 18 from Zero.
うるさい。頑張れ。